Good evening, everyone. Today is July 13th, 2022, and the Concord Township Board of Zoning Appeals meeting is now in session. At this time, I would like to introduce the members of the Concord BZA. But first, I would, on my far left here, this is Mike Lucas, legal counsel for the township. To my far left is James Rowe. And right here, and on my immediate left, is Davey Rowan. To my immediate right is Todd Goling, and to my far right is Marty Pitkin, who is the Assistant Zoning Inspector. I'm Chris Gerald, and I am your chair for this evening.
Well, I think we want to put that on the record.
Oh, right, we have to take a vote.
Well, you also
Right.
should have somebody make a motion to
Or she has to campaign.
Oh,
So I'd like to make a motion to make Ms. Gerald our president pro tempore for this session.
Second.
Third, okay.
third.
Vote.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. I will do the best that I can.
It was a tough battle.
Under the advice of counsel, we ask that anyone speaking tonight must be sworn in. So if you plan on speaking, please stand and raise your right hand and respond to the following oath by answering "I do." Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God? Thank you very much. And a little bit more instruction for you speakers this evening. When presenting your case, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and please reiterate that you have indeed been sworn in. Marty, were the legal notices published in a timely manner?
Yes, they have.
Thank you very much. This evening, we have 4 variance requests, and a couple of those are dual variance requests. And tonight, there's only 4 of us, still need a 3 votes to pass or deny your variance request. And I suspect everybody's cool with having only 4 of us tonight. Has that been communicated? Marty, do we know?
Yes, it has.
Okay, excellent. Okay, the first case this evening involves public hearing for appeal variance application 2022-102. Classic Clean Auto Wash LLC is requesting the following variances to allow for the construction of a car wash facility for the property owned by Route 44 LLC on Gold Court, known as current parcel number 08A020B, followed by 4 zeros, 50. So the first variance is a variance from section 2204 to allow for approximately a 27.19 foot front building setback from the Gold Court right of way in lieu of the 50 feet required. And then the second variance from section 3804A to eliminate the required 5-foot planting area between the proposed south building walls and paved area. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. May it please the board, my name is Kenneth Fisher, business address 50 Public Square, Suite 2100, Cleveland, Ohio. I'm an attorney here this evening representing the applicant, Classic Clean Auto Wash LLC, in regard to the 2 proposed area variances for the vacant parcel located on Gold Court.
And you have been, excuse me, you have been sworn in, right?
I was sworn in,
Excellent.
but I think Mr. Lucas will tell you, as a lawyer, I don't have to take an oath, but I did.
Oh,
But
thank
I did.
you.
That's true. He does not. He's an officer.
But I did take the oath.
Okay,
In
thank
the spirit
you.
of cooperation.
Okay, so in the purpose of full disclosure, yes, I'm sworn.
Thank you.
Okay, and this is in regard to the 1.32 acre parcel, again on Gold Court, located in the BX Business Interchange District. Also in attendance tonight, Attorney James Hackenberg, who's the general counsel for the Classic organization, Attorney Dennis Nevar, who I work with, and representatives of Tally CM, Kurt Hansen, and yeah, thanks. Okay, thank you. In terms of a little bit of the procedural history, and I'll be brief, on April 13th of this year, this BZA granted a conditional use permit for a car wash in case number 2022-22, which was affirmed by the BZA. This BZA, at its last meeting on June 8th, upon a motion of reconsideration, the previous objection to the conditional use permit by Dr. John Neckick was formally withdrawn per his correspondence dated June 6, 2022, prior to the hearing. There were no objections to the conditional use permit, including from the neighboring hotel owner, who would not agree to a shared driveway, which was one of the requests, but made it clear that he did have no objection to the conditional use permit itself, just he wasn't willing to agree to a shared driveway. On June 7th, subsequent to the June 6th meeting, we were here the next evening, and the Zoning Commission of the township did approve the site plan and design review for the proposed use, subject to the following area variances, which are on the agenda this evening. Canopy setback from Gold Court, 50-foot requirement. We're requesting a 22.81-foot variance to allow for the canopy, and I'd like to stress that is an open structure. It does have a roof, but it's an open structure, the canopy, in regard to the first variance request. And the second area request is the elimination of the township zoning resolution required 5-foot landscape buffer to the, well, it'd be to the south of the building. And again, there's a detailed landscape plan that's been submitted that shows extensive landscaping, albeit not the 5-foot buffer. But again, in consideration of the overall landscape plan, which again is extensive and is included in the application and also in front of you this evening, we ask that you look at that. On June 13th, this area application was filed for these two variances with the township, addressing the 7 practical difficulty standards as detailed in the, well, leading Ohio Supreme Court case of Duncan versus Middlefield. And again, this is pursuant to the township zoning resolution, section 9.03D4, which specifically references Duncan. The application that was filed on June 13th does address the 7 practical difficulty standards as follows. Number 1, will the property yield a reasonable return, or can there be a beneficial use of the property without the variance? And again, the standard, the legal standard here for an area variance is practical difficulty. Approval of the requested, in response to whether a reasonable return can be yielded, approval of the requested area variances will ensure proper development of the property and consistent with the approved study, traffic study, previously submitted to the BZA, maximize off-street stacking of vehicles, provide sufficient on-site parking, and allow for proper on-site traffic circulation while complying with other township zoning resolution requirements. So again, in terms of the overall plan, it's important that these variances be included to allow for extensive landscaping and also for the non-enclosed canopy. Is the variance substantial? None of the requested, the 2 variances are substantial, where the canopy variance relates to the setback from Gold Court, a cul-de-sac street with very limited vehicular traffic, and there is also, as just mentioned, extensive on-site landscaping that satisfies the spirit and intent of the zoning resolution and supports the request for, again, no 5-foot rear buffer to the south, landscape buffer. Thirdly, under Duncan versus Middlefield, will the essential character of the neighborhood be substantially altered, or will adjoining properties suffer a substantial detriment if the variance is granted? Approval of the requested variances will not substantially alter the essential character of the neighborhood or result in substantial detriment. In fact, the proposed car wash use, to which there have been no objections, is consistent with other uses in the BX Business Interchange District, including without limitation, the existing car wash at a nearby Shell station, and the conditional use permit for a car wash granted on April 13th, 2022 to the IN9 Group for property located on Cryle Road at Old Cryle Road. 4, will the variance adversely affect the delivery of governmental services? Neither of the 2 requests, setback variance for the canopy and the buffer landscape variance, will have any adverse effect whatsoever on delivery of governmental services by the township, or for that matter, the county. Did the property owner purchase the property with knowledge of the existing zoning restrictions? Well, as I believe everybody's aware, my client has the property under contract. The owner is here tonight with with two realtors, and again, totally supports the proposal. And again, approval of the requested area variances will ensure not only that the property will be acquired by my client pursuant to the existing purchase agreement, but ensure proper development consistent with the approved traffic study, maximize off-street stacking of vehicles, provide for sufficient on-site parking, and allow for proper on-site traffic circulation while complying with all other provisions of the township zoning resolution. Can the problem, canopy, landscape buffer, be resolved by some manner other than the granting of the variances? The answer is no, there is no way, really. The canopy is necessary because of obviously, weather conditions, very uncertain weather conditions, as we all know in this climate. And again, the landscape buffer is also necessary as part of an overall plan that is very, very substantial and can be spoken about and described in greater detail by Kurt Hansen from Tally CM. And the seventh criteria, under Duncan versus Middlefield, will the variance preserve the spirit and intent of the zoning resolution, and will substantial justice be done by granting the variance? Well, approval of the variance does preserve the spirit and intent as it relates to the BX Business District, and will promote substantial justice by allowing the development of the subject property in a manner consistent with the approved traffic study as approved, maximizes off-street stacking of vehicles, provides for sufficient on-site parking, and allows for proper on-site traffic circulation while again maintaining compliance, and this is important, with all other provisions of your township zoning resolution. Accordingly, the request is made, and I'm going to defer to Kurt if there's any questions specifically about either the landscape buffer and the landscape plan specifically, or the rendering that shows the open canopy. We're requesting two variances, and there's separate applications, although I discussed them together under the Middlefield criteria. A canopy setback from Gold Court from 50 feet to 27.19 feet, which would be a 22.81 foot variance, and elimination of the 5-foot landscape buffer on the south side of the building. And Kurt is here, right to my left, if there's any specific questions per se about the either the canopy or the landscape buffer requests.
So this canopy wasn't proposed initially?
Kurt Hansen, 4780 South Pine Lane, Perry, Ohio, and yes, I've been sworn in. The canopy's been part of the design since the beginning of the project. When we came for the conditional use permit and all the way through site plan design review, it's always been there.
Oh, so we didn't know this before?
It was always known that it was going to need a variance throughout the project, but it was always through working with the township zoning. It was going to basically, once we got through the conditional use permit and then our site plan design review, that would come back to get our variances.
And so the variance isn't, so the setback for the canopy, it's 50 feet back from cryo, but it's Gold Court that we're looking at. Right,
Gold Court, correct.
We're good on cryo, it's Gold Court.
Gold Court, yes.
Gotcha.
Based upon it being on a corner lot, that we have at that point, what the front setbacks apply on Gold as well.
I just want to make sure I was clear, so I understood that correctly.
So one thing I didn't see about the landscape here, we're talking about here on the south side, right?
Yes.
Why do you want to get rid of it?
We don't, the thing we're looking for is on the south side of the building itself.
Oh, the building.
The building,
My
yes.
bad. Got it.
Basically,
Okay.
per the code, as we said, the 5 foot. Instead of putting that, basically, instead of pushing everything 5 foot, losing more of the existing green space there on the south property line to gain that. Basically, we were proposing to get the variance to not have that 5 foot right against the building and to keep the existing along the south property line. As you see per the plan, we've obviously added even more trees throughout there to keep that. Also, too, when we looked at the calculations, is the amount of green space you lose if you had to put the 5 foot buffer on the building.
Yeah.
That amount of green space,
You
and
lose
basically
it
what
on
you
the
take
south
back,
property line.
that would be less green
Yeah.
space than what we have on the south property line.
Makes sense. And regarding the canopy, and this is, forgive my own ignorance here, there's 3 pay stations there.
That's correct.
I mean, worst case scenario, I'm just spitballing here. Could you squish it down to 2 pay stations, or is this because of the stacking thing?
It's yeah, basically based on stacking. The other thing too is even if we go down to 2 pay stations, even that second north pay station would still be still be over that setback line. And then yes, obviously we have the 3 pay stations there to get to meet the stacking requirements that we need per the which we exceeded per the township code.
Okay, thank you.
Did you guys change the color of the building?
Yes, through the basically site plan design review, the entire the materials of the building were all changed. Basically, as we're working with the township zoning to meet the thing. Obviously, now that the new look that was obviously approved by the design board meeting when we went to that. That basically now it kind of blends in with Verizon, the Holiday Inn Express, and the shopping center as well.
That makes me happy. Anybody else?
So it'll pretty much just look pretty much like this thing, just a steel structure with a curved roof.
That's correct. Yes.
So there's no wall on this side?
No, it is completely open on all 4 sides. And obviously the top will obviously have the curved canopy on it. And you get the steel columns coming down.
Is this manned, or is it just like the ATM?
There's actually 3 point of sale system, but also too, as soon as a customer pulls up, that there is as the tenant of the car wash, they'll come out to basically help them through. Then obviously too, if there are obviously if they're a subscription customer, obviously they'll go pull right up. Obviously the RFID reader senses it. Obviously the gate will open up, they'll go. But for anybody else, for a standard paying customer, once they pull up, that they'll come out and ask them obviously if they need assistance. And then obviously too, if they wanted to get the subscription package.
Got it. Okay.
There are going to be people there spraying the cars before they go in?
Yes, before the car goes into the car wash, actually basically the worker that will get the cars lined up, centered on the conveyor. Once they get them centered up before they enter into the tunnel, if the car has excessive bugs on the front, there's some bug spray they do that. They also have a pressure washer right there as well to be able to spray the front of the car.
I strongly suggest they do a good job getting underneath the spoiler. Very important. Anybody else? Okay. I think we're good, and I would just ask: is there anyone here speaking against the request? Okay, so I guess if there's no further questions.
Madam Chair, you want to ask if anyone's here to speak in favor of the request as well?
Oh, well, I figured these guys are in favor. Anybody else in favor? Okay. So I am closing the public hearing for variance, for both variances, 2022-102. And I guess we will, unless there's is there some discussion? Anybody? Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Then I will, we will address the first variance request for the 22.04 to allow for a 27.19 foot front building setback from Gold Court right away in lieu of the 50 foot. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and Marty, will you call the roll?
Will do. Mr. Rowe,
Yes.
Mr. Rowan,
Yes.
Mr. Goling,
Yes.
Ms. Gerald.
Yes. And that variance request has been granted. We will move on to the second one. Variance from section 38.04A to eliminate the required 5 foot planting area between the proposed south building walls and paved area. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Marty, please call.
Mr. Rowan,
Yes.
Mr. Goling,
Yes.
Mr. Rowe,
Yes.
Ms. Gerald.
Yes. And that has also been granted. Congratulations. Okay, we are on to our second variance application, 2022-103. Mr. Robert C. Spinello is requesting a variance to allow for the construction of a 6 foot high fence in the front yard in lieu of the maximum 4-foot high permitted in section 3404A1 for the property located at 10351 Hoos Road, known as current parcel number 08A03000000010.
I'm Robert Spinella. I live at 10351 Hoos Road, Concord, and I have been sworn in.
Thank you.
I'd like to request a variance for a 6-foot tall welded wire pasture fence with posts in the front of the house line. That'd be in the front yard, basically in front of the house line of the property. Requesting also for the east and the west sides of the property. This is a residential property. One side is next to the Concord Hills Park, and the other side there's a neighboring residential property. The purpose of the taller fence is to contain chickens. We raise poultry, which we do have permits for the coops we applied for last month. And chickens can fly over a 4-foot tall fence, so we're requesting a 6-foot tall fence just to keep them enclosed in the property. We raise them for eggs, for selling eggs. This will prevent the chickens from entering the neighboring property as well as the Concord Hills Park. And also this will help prevent deer and predators from entering into the yard. The fence is wire only. It's not solid, so it's see-through. It's not really visible. It's not a privacy fence. It's it's not easy to see from the road, really. Barely discernible to neighbors and drivers on the road. And the front facing the road will only be a 4-foot fence, so I'm not requesting 6-foot on the roadside or a gate for the driveway. It will not adversely affect the delivery of government services, as the driveway will be accessible and the house will not be blocked. It was not our original intent when we moved into the property in 2014 to raise poultry. This was developed later. And if approved, the variance should benefit the owner, us, as well as the patrons and of the park next door and our neighbors. And I closed some pictures also of the fence in there, and a map also.
How many chickens do you have?
About 20 or 30.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Do
Get a lot of eggs.
Do you sell the eggs?
Yeah, we sell the eggs, yes.
And real quick, I just pulled it up on the Google map. You're across from Kitty City, right?
Yeah.
Down-
Caroline's kids, it was over there. They moved out.
Is that your driveway? Right?
Yeah, that's it there.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I know where you are then.
Have you had, coyotes or the chickens are escaping? Like how?
Occasionally they will fly over the 4-foot fence. They can fly on top of the fence and then fly out. But they avoid the roadside. It's a natural deterrent. I think the cars, so they stay away from that. But to the sides, they would escape. And the deer can actually hop over a 4-foot fence very easy, we've noticed. Raccoons are the main predator, and hawks, but the fence is going to keep that's not going to keep them out. But no coyotes that we've seen.
When you drive by, I had to back up. Luckily, it was just to spot the situation. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, it's not rural per se, but it's not developed like HOA developed. So it sits back a little ways, and it's
Adding a fence, I don't see as.
you wouldn't see it from 10 feet away. I don't imagine.
I doubt it.
Anybody else?
There's not a lot of frontage on the road, and most of it will be in the back. It's covered with bushes and trees. It's a lot of green area.
So how many eggs? Just curiosity.
Probably about a dozen a day. Yeah.
Did you bring any to?
No, I should have. Next time I will.
Because they're like butter.
Yeah, they're really good. I'm never going back to store-bought.
That's great. Well, thank you. I don't think anybody else has questions.
I just have a question. Why is the coop in the pasture in the front yard as opposed to the backyard?
The backyard, there's a yard, grass, but beyond that, it's heavily wooded, and that's sort of a wet area. So there wasn't a good area in the back. I believe it would be considered wetland, so it would be muddy, and there's a riparian setback back there.
And then for purposes of, maybe this is a question for Marty, the front yard, is it defined basically from the front of the house forward?
Yes,
Okay, so that would be.
yes.
'cause
Front
it's
face of the house forward.
4 feet in the front yard,
Yes,
up to 8 feet in the backyard.
yeah, that's correct.
Gotcha, okay.
And the house is approximately 300 feet from the driveway, or I mean, from the road.
Anybody else?
Well, it looks like the front pasture area, or I guess where you're fencing in the coop. How far is that? I'm trying to see how far that is from the 6-foot fence to the front property line.
Estimate at about 100 feet.
Okay. So 4-foot fence in the front, and then 100 feet back you'll have.
Right,
Gotcha.
that's not the exact measurement, but it's approximate.
Roughly.
Yeah.
Sure,
Gotcha.
Hey Dave, I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, I've driven past before, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's
Just trying to get a feel for
yeah.
like how, if we were talking like, okay, we're 5 feet from the front property line versus like, around 50 to 100.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Spinella.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there anyone else here tonight speaking for or against this variance request? Please, come on up.
My name is Jim Setback. I live over in Ellison Creek. I've been a resident of Concord Township for 30 years plus. Worked here for a number of years and still do as well.
Have you been sworn in, sir?
Yes, I have.
Thank you.
I'm also a personal friend of the gentleman back there who lives next door to where this property is. And where he is right on the corner of Hoos and Morley. And the way the property is set up, his property, my friend's property is elevated and you can see clearly in there. And over the last 12-month period, I'd say, there's something new there every day. He mentioned 10 to 20 chickens, whatever. I don't even know what they are. They're giant geese and some other animals that are around there. And I recognize and respect somebody's right to use their property per the zoning, with the acreage that he has and having the animals there. But two of the concerns with it is the containment of the animals. The chickens primarily, I'm at my friend's house quite a bit, had a grad party there, little kids there, and it's cute to see chickens running around, but it's also a health hazard, and you can Google it anywhere to pick up chickens, and they're just everywhere. They're out in the road. My background is law enforcement, and you come around that corner there, and I have seen some close calls with cars hitting them. And so one of the items he mentioned is that he's asking for the variance to put the fence on the side. If you can do anything with the variance, it's on the front to keep them away from the road. I don't know chickenology that much that I can't, it's far enough away from the road that the cars aren't going to deter the birds from going up over the fence there. And I guess the last point I have in it is, when's enough is enough? Is that how much can you continue to add? You gentlemen said you drive down the road and you go, wait, what's that? And you stop and look. But again, you say it's not a highly developed area. It's not a subdivision, but he and his family had homes all along the road there. He's the last one left for 20 years. And there's other things that occur other than hatching chicken eggs there, in the yard, which is different, I guess, from this variance, and I don't want to get too far off that topic. But my point is, as a Concord Township resident, how much of this can this continue to expand and grow? Now you're putting a higher fence, and now, I'm going to contain them, I can add more. And so again, respect the gentleman's right to have his property. And if we are going to approve the variance, then it should be 6 foot all the way around. But personally, I'd rather see it not, because I'd rather see the growth slow down instead of speed up, which is what I think this would do. Is speed up the growth.
So you're against, put it in a nutshell for us, you're against the variance.
I'm against the variance because my concern is the operation will now continue to expand. I don't know what the limitations are. You know, I've read through the zoning a little bit, that you can have this, have that, but I don't know how many ducks, chickens, whatever you can have, you know, and that if you add this containment area now, it's like, well, I can just add a whole bunch more, and then there's buildings that get added, and, you know.
Has the containment area grown? Do we?
Like, what do you mean define grown? Like,
Yeah.
like the number of chickens?
Yeah, there's buildings that are added, like little chicken huts or whatever.
Right.
And then it seems there's more than chickens there. I don't know what the whole inventory is there, but I know there's big giant geese looking things, you know, that are there too, that, you know, it just, you know.
So-
How large,
If buildings were added, they would.
without going off topic of zoning, if this does, tell me, but how big of a farm can you have on that many acres? Is there a limit to how many animals?
2 acres is so if you have 2 acres, you can have your house and one separate storage building. It's up to 1024 square feet. Over 2 acres, the way it reads, you can have as many as you want. You could stack them wall to wall if you wanted to.
And this is over 2 acres.
Over 2 acres, and you're 3.08.
3.08.
So you can keep,
Go on, sorry, go
you
ahead.
can keep adding buildings, is what you're telling
In
me?
theory, yes, yes.
And then keep adding animals until when?
Well, I suppose that would be a question for the county, as far as when it comes to like a health hazard. Is that what you're like? Chicken?
Again, I'm looking at this as a 30-year Concord Township resident. I've seen the township change immensely over these years. I live in some days I hate it that I have to pay a assessment in my neighborhood, but certain things aren't allowed to happen.
Right.
You know. I don't know. I think I've stated my case, and I appreciate your time. And I'm not trying to become argumentative, right?
Well, I think it's a fair question that,
Yeah.
like, you know, he had mentioned that he's doing 6 all the way around, but just that little 4 in the front. Is there a problem with bringing it to 6 in the front? I mean, one, we don't want to be hitting chickens. Truth be told, I hit a duck there about 2 years ago. Bounced right off my windshield. I'm not sure if it came from his or the pond across the street, but if the answer is that we don't want chickens going into the neighbor's yard, which is fair, I don't want chickens running through my yard, right? So do we bring the front up to 6 feet all the way around? But then the secondary, I guess tertiary concern there is, then are we growing into Noah's Ark there? Is that kind of what we're going
I've
after?
pretty much pled my case pretty good, and you understand.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Spinello, would you please come back?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what we have to discuss, is he's here for specifically just that variance and the number of poultry. I don't think we.
Are there limitations on?
No.
Okay.
No.
So-
Yeah, Madam Chair, the Ohio Revised Code specifically prohibits townships from regulating agricultural activities, and raising chickens is an agricultural activity. So we have no regulatory power in terms of limiting the number, the operation of the facility itself and that. We regulate the buildings and the fences and that, but the use itself.
I'm sorry.
You
What
can.
about other animals? I mean, you said it's chickens specifically.
Like define
I
another
mentioned-
animal.
Whatever that big giant goose-looking thing is.
The goose,
There's 7 geese and about 10 ducks, and then the chickens.
How long has the 6-foot fence been up there?
The enclosure has been there, I would say, since last fall.
So that hasn't reduced the chicken escapism rate over there at all?
They sometimes are able to go under, which we're in the process of blocking that. But yeah, the second layer, I believe, would help.
What about that 4 foot? So if you increase that 4 foot in the front to 6,
I would like to request a 6. I was trying to be conscious of the road and the view, but I believe that it could be well
yeah, but it's
hidden.
like 300 feet off the road, right?
Yeah, and
Well, the in the front, it would be closer to the road. It'd be probably about,
So then let me ask this, and forgive my complete total ignorance here. Can't the big geese fly too?
no, they're domesticated. They're domesticated geese, so they can't fly.
They're domesticated.
So actually, I have a question about, even if you did a 4-foot or a 6-foot fence in
Right.
the front, there's no gate. So if the
Yeah, how do you get
chickens
in?
There's a gate by the driveway, but that's a man gate. It's
Would
not
that
a-
make a
not
big difference?
The gate or
The
the
6
6 foot?
the 6 feet in the front, would it make a big difference? Would it make a big
It
difference?
would certainly help, I think, with the road situation.
Well, I'm also, the road is, my concern is the neighbor.
Yeah.
And my concern is that obviously we don't want to upset our neighbors.
Yeah,
And
we don't either.
And it takes a while to grow chickens, and
Yeah.
if they're laying eggs, you don't want them smushed or kicked by your neighbor.
Right.
So we have to come to some sort of agreement to keep the chickens in the yard.
Certainly.
So, but have we heard from the neighbor? Because
Not
you're
yet.
the neighbor.
Yeah. That's
You're
it.
not the neighbor, but we haven't heard from the neighbor.
Yeah, right. So we can, so that's, I suppose if we were looking at 6 all the way around, he's far enough off. It would hopefully keep all of the waterfowl in, or all the fowl, not waterfowl, whatever, in that little caged area, I guess. And my knowledge of birds flying is just, I didn't know they couldn't, but
Are these waterfowl just walking around the yard, or?
They're in the closure right now. Yeah.
what do they do?
They free range. They're just grazing. They eat bugs and grass, and I mean we feed them, but I mean they supplement their diet free range. And to speak to the neighbors also, we are not planning on upsizing anymore. We're actually in the process of purchasing this property in Asheville County. It's 30 acres, so we're planning on moving the majority of the animals over there. So we're not planning on
Wait, moving just the animals, or you guys?
not all of them, but the majority of them. So
Yeah.
we're not planning on adding and making it a larger operation. We respect the neighbors certainly.
Yeah.
We want to live in harmony. So
Yeah.
if that helps, I mean we're planning to do the majority of it there.
Well, the notices were filed.
He's
And
here,
so we have to have a neighbor come up and express a
And
grievance.
one more question: do the geese? Again, dumb question. Do they lay eggs too?
They do, yeah.
And
Yes.
like eating eggs?
Yeah, they can eat. We have 2 actually goslings that hatched.
Gotcha. Okay.
They did escape one time and did chase the neighbor, which I apologize and I felt really bad. And that's part of why we put the fence around. Just
I think they
because
make
we don't
TikTok
want them.
videos about that. No.
Yeah, we don't want. That's not our intent. I mean, we're not trying to anger anybody. And
Okay, so let's. I want to recap for he speaks here.
okay,
How many geese?
there's 7 geese and 2 goslings.
And how big are these things?
They're 20 pounds, but they're tall.
Okay, and then chickens. Total chickens.
I would say 30. I don't know. I haven't counted them.
So we're at 37 critters right now.
Yeah.
And then do we have anything
And then
else?
ducks. There's about 10 ducks and I think about 5 or 6 ducklings.
So
Are they noisy?
There's a rooster, which in the morning, and then then the ducks quack, and the geese. I mean, they make noise. I know. So we're planning on moving the loud animals away.
So define me a loud animal. Just
A
Rooster, cock-a-doodle. A goose is very loud, and the ducks quack. So those we're planning on moving to. We're
so
trying
what
to,
will you keep after you get Ashtabula? What will you keep at the house?
Just a few chickens for eggs.
Great. Okay.
When is that going to happen?
We're working on closing with the bank. It's supposed to close on August 15th.
Okay.
They did an appraisal yesterday.
Okay.
All right, I'm straight. No more questions about chickens.
Okay.
Good.
Thanks again.
Hello, Mike Technip, 10375 Hoos Road. And yes, I've been sworn in. I guess my big question, and I know you guys were talking about it, is a 4-foot fence, 6-foot fence. Sounds like the livestock, for a lack of a better term, is going to be minimal now, moving forward to August 15th or whenever. But I guess my question is for the front property, how far off, if 6 foot is agreed upon, I'm just thinking of, you know, the regular heights of fences. If this is 6 foot, this is a privacy fence?
No.
Close to it? See,
It's
board on board?
a wire fence.
It's a wire fence.
Yeah.
And how far back, I guess, from the
Like
street?
Like something like that.
Okay, I've seen those.
It's already there, correct?
It's not around the perimeter, just the enclosure.
Okay.
How close to the street? Because as a neighbor, I don't want, my request, I don't know if that's the proper term or not, is not to have a makeshift looking fence, wired fence going across the front.
Right.
6 foot, 4 foot, whatever. The property, I mean, it's a pretty property, was a pretty property with all the grass and the trees
Right.
that have been taken down. It is now not that. So now if you're going to add on a fence that ultimately is going to contain a handful of chickens versus what they have now, and thank you for stating that. That's good to know. I appreciate that. But I guess my concern is the cosmetic look. I mean, this is Concord Township 2022. This isn't 1922, where we do have beautified looking yards and properties in that, even over in that area, even though it's not a division or a subdivision or whatever, it's still, there's beautiful homes over there. So I guess that's my concern, is how close to the street this is going to be, cosmetically what it's going to look like. And if it's 6 foot, 4 feet, these do have, I know the chickens don't fly, but trust me, we have a picture of one of the chickens initially when they started this, that they were on our privacy pool wall up on top, which is a 6 foot wall. So they can jump and they can jump over it. So 4 foot to 6 foot, it's not going to make a difference probably for that.
Well, I guess a question for Marty.
Yes.
Because I know we talked about this, the wire fence thing. What, on a 3 acre there, he can have the wire fence there, even in the front, is that correct?
Yes.
So there's no restrictions as to wood picket, plastic privacy, chain link?
No.
So he can have a fence
Yes, you can.
there.
Yes.
And it's how far from the road is it?
It would be approximately 18 feet
18
from
feet.
the edge of pavement.
So then, I guess my next question is, how far would you want it to be?
There's some trees that we left intact on purpose to help prevent some of that cosmetic, and planting more trees. So it would be on that tree line.
All right, so would it be in front of this tree line or behind this tree line?
I believe it would be behind, so to make it less visible.
And I guess just looking at that picture, Todd,
Yeah.
there's a stream that runs to your right of that picture. And I'm just curious,
Okay.
what is that going to look like as far as the fence? Is it going over the stream creek that's right there, or is it running parallel to it?
Oh, it's the streams over here
Yeah.
on the right?
Yeah.
Can I see that?
Yeah, so what he's talking
Be-
about is the stream, is
Again,
because
I'm just looking
there's
for
a pond over here
cosmetic look.
on this other side by Kitty City, and the water goes underneath and the stream goes through, cuts through the two properties. So the question is, how do you fence off how do you put it over a stream, I guess? Isn't that right?
Yeah, I mean, if you got ducks, I mean, aren't they swimming potentially? Again, I'm not trying to split hairs. Height-wise, I know that's the variance that we're
Yeah.
talking about. Again, this may be off
But how do
topic
you
completely, but
keep a duck on the property if it can swim
yeah.
underneath?
I mean, and again, they have fences. They've been good as far as installing quick fixes from a previous time when some of the livestock came over. But even just yesterday, there was 4 chickens in my front yard coming through the woods. So
And the 6 foot fence is up right now, right?
Except for the front.
Except for the front.
Well, not along
Is
the
that
property
really
line.
gonna stop
So
the
this-
chickens? And is this all not moot if you're moving most of the critters, except for some chickens?
Just to clarify, the outer perimeter, that fence is not built.
The
That's what
outer
we're
perimeter's
approving.
not built, just the
The inner,
enclosure, right.
the inner pen, where the coop is, that exists. It's all the outside perimeter of the property that doesn't exist yet. That's what we're approving. So right now, there is no fence, correct?
No,
And there's nothing on the perimeter of the property line right now.
no, we just had it surveyed, so we
So I don't know how much fences are to put up wire fence, but it's probably not super cheap. But, so you want to put up this fence for a month or two to keep, long-term goal is to keep some egg chickens in. The majority of the critters are going to go Ashtabula.
Yes.
Mr. Technic, do you think that the 6-foot fence is going to help?
In the front, no, probably, to be honest with you. And again, I think that's what the variance request was. On the sides, it's probably not gonna make a difference, as Mr. Setback just stated before. I'm elevated, so regardless, I can see everything that's going along the perimeter of where the property lines are. So if I don't know. I know it's for containment, but I guess my big request is cosmetically, is gonna downgrade things even more, from a.
Unfortunately, there's no parameters set forth in the resolution.
Right, I mean, because the township variants, they're old. I mean, we're a populated community now, and we're growing, I think, or at least status quo for a while. But some of these zoning variances or requests are old stuff, I mean.
I believe that's where I think you can actually propose
I've talked to Heather.
changes to the zoning commission.
Yeah.
And they can make those changes, we can't.
I know, I've reached out to Heather, I've talked to her too, just about, what limitations are and stuff like that, so.
But I think you can actually make a proposed
Okay.
resolution or
Is
you
that
can-
county driven or is it township
This is
driven?
at the township level. I think you can actually propose stuff that the zoning commission can then take up and
Okay,
they would work with it. It would go to the trustees. I don't know the exact process, but
sure.
You should be able. There is a process, I believe.
So is the bottom line of your grievance the fence or the animals?
Yes.
Which?
Again, I mean, a 6-foot fence across the front, if it's 18 feet back, if it's along where the trees are, it's gonna be kind of hidden. I'm trying to keep that corner beautified as much as possible. If it's 6 foot, 4 foot, again, I don't know if that's gonna make a difference in the long run. If he's removing some of the livestock, moving them to Ashtabula, thank you very much for that. But at the same time, I don't know if 6 foot, 4 foot, maybe 8 foot.
Didn't we
would be better.
determine this was going to be behind the bushes?
Yeah, we're a good place to be in bushes.
Okay,
So the fence will be behind the bushes.
I mean,
okay.
And it seems to me like the fence would be better than nothing at all.
Yes, no, I agree.
I
I
think-
agree with that.
Obviously, we're talking about aesthetics, but
Yeah.
and really, for your purposes, even if you had a privacy fence up, you'd still see in because
Right.
you're elevated, so
Of
it doesn't
course.
matter for that. But
Right.
we're talking along the road.
Yes.
how far setback is the current wire pasture fence, which is that one right there? How far from whose is it? Like, obviously it's beyond the trees, because I can't really see it from the Google Streets. But I'm just trying to.
So I think you have that backwards, don't you?
That says Hoos Road right here.
Oh,
My eyes are not what they
no,
used to
you're
be.
right. I
It's
see.
really small.
That's approximately 70 feet back from
Okay.
the right-of-way of Hoos.
So we know it's at least 70 feet. Then would there be an issue, Mr. Technic, about if the fence were back here, back yonder, of course not up here right on Hoos Road?
That would be fine.
That'd be good.
Yeah,
So we can set conditions if we were going to do the 6 all the way around. Keep the chickens where chickens should be. He's going to get rid of the
noisy one.
The big
noisy
ones.
ones. The noisy
big
ones.
yeah, thank you for that too.
And just for like, say when I know you said you close sometime in August. When would the moving of the critters be?
I believe it'd be within a month.
And I
Of the
guess-
closing?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're probably keeping the rooster there.
Yes, definitely.
That's a bummer. So are we going to propose a condition that it be, whatever the lineal,
Like, see that line right there?
yes,
Where that's the setback line anyway.
yes.
Right? So if he follows that setback line, it follows that where the front of the current pasture fence is, that would be behind the trees.
And then go all the way across.
And go all the way across. You got it 6 feet. Hopefully, chickens won't fly, and they'll stay off his property. We get rid of the geese.
Geese.
Thank you. We get rid of the geese, and the ducks are gonna go.
So
And maybe,
this is, you're talking about moving the fence right here.
Yes.
Davey, I'm coming over there, buddy.
Yes.
Just run it along that.
Yeah, right. See this, that's the setback line. So if he follows,
So basically,
Fence.
he has the existing fence here.
right, and he goes 6 all the way back, so I think those trees, so here's the beginning, yeah, the trees are gonna be right here. So he stays all the way back, he's way yonder back. So I don't believe you can see that from Hoos, if you would.
Would that be the case?
What do you think?
If that's a resolution, then that's fine.
Well, we'd have to make it,
We'd have to amend it, wouldn't we?
Yes, we
and it
have.
would have to, the resident would have to be amenable.
Mr. Spinello, is this setback line past the bushes?
I'm not 100% sure, but we
Do
could
you wanna-
certainly make it.
Yeah, so we've
Yeah.
got essentially where your fence is for the coop.
Right.
Just run it along.
I believe it would be within.
Mr.
a
Spinello,
couple feet.
you want to go up to the microphone, if you would, please. Thank you.
I believe it would be within a couple feet of the tree line, so we could certainly push it back to what needs to be.
Okay,
But also, should we discuss making this conditional to be the 25 feet setback from the property line? Because according to this drawing, I think all those little X's there is where the proposed fence is. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
So right on the property line.
Right. It does not have to be right on the property line. That's just the way it was drawn.
So one, I guess, if we keep it 25 feet back, I don't know how that's going to affect the chickens, but that's 25 feet away, further away
Yeah.
from his house.
Right.
Right?
Certainly. Yeah, we could
So
certainly
we
do
can scooch, we can mandate that we have it set 25 feet back around, and the front of the fence follows the current coop fence thing that's up right there. You see what I'm saying?
mm-hmm,
And then we also forego the 4 feet on front, 6 feet all the way around, in an effort to keep chickens where chickens should be, which is inside the fence.
Good.
Can I state something on that?
Yes.
property, though? Along that
Step to the
line
mic,
where-
step to the mic.
Along the line next to my property, there's a creek that runs through there too. So, I mean, it's wetland.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know how you're going to really establish even driving in whatever kind of reinforcement along that area. I mean,
Yeah,
for
they got the
construction
drawing of the-
purposes, even if it's, whatever they're driving, it's going to be in wetland. So I don't know how sturdy that's going to be and everything. So I guess 25 feet, fantastic. It's off the property line.
Right.
However, I mean, that's literally, that whole area between our two properties, which is probably spans about, I couldn't tell you for sure, probably make a third of an acre between our properties, is all wetland. And so, again, if you're fencing in,
do the chickens go through the muck to?
yeah.
They
They've
go
been in
through
my
the
back
muck?
of my woods too, back of my property. So anyways, I don't have a true resolution on that side of it. I just know when you're trying to purchase into the land with some kind of reinforcement, you would want to make sure you're driving into, ground that's going to actually hold it. However, those posts are going to be, and again, we might be completely off topic here, but when you're talking about the property lines and everything.
Yeah, I think that, the construction of it, we don't have any.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
get
got to
that.
figure out how to get it through the wetlands. But I'm just trying to see, to your point about trying to get my satellite view.
And it's hilly over there too, so again, I don't know. Maybe that's why it's a wire fence would be what you would want to do versus wood fence.
Okay, so that's where that little pond thing is across the street,
Yeah.
and then that's who's talking about the stream going through. But I mean,
Well, Mr. Spinello, are you willing to deal with, could you come back up for a second? Are you willing to deal with these conditions?
Yes, certainly.
So 6 foot across the front at the 25-foot setback line
Mhm.
behind the bushes.
In the front,
Yeah.
yes, yep.
And you're gonna have to do a good job,
Okay. We can do that.
okay?
So are we,
We're gonna have to modify,
but are we doing just the front then? Or are we doing all the way
We're
around?
doing 6 on the setback line, no further.
The front.
So he's gotta be 25 feet setback from the property all the way around, save for the 70 some feet in the front, Marty said.
Correct.
To where the current welded pasture line thing is. I mean, the goal here, we have to agree that we gotta come to some sort of agreement that we don't want his chickens going all over the place and getting mushed. He doesn't want his chickens going over there and pooping in his yard, and the geese running around, stuff like that, so we gotta contain them.
The only other thing I'm questioning is we're really only talking about the front yard because that's what the variance is for.
Right.
Anything from the front of the house back could be to the property line.
It could, but we also have a neighbor here that really is, we're trying to solve 2 problems. you
Right, I
know?
understand, but we have a variance for the
Yeah.
front yard, not for the backyard. So
So what do you think, Chris?
I don't know legally if we can even dictate.
how do we modify?
You're gonna have to, and you're gonna need a little more detail on what because I realize we're just generally discussing this, but you're gonna have to lay out with some specificity so that if somebody looks at this later, they know
Exactly
exactly
what
what's
we
being
talked
agreed
about.
to, number one.
Okay, so.
And wait, I'm not done.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's all right, Chris. And number 2, the applicant, because as you noted, there's only a certain variance request here. The applicant would have to agree to amend the variance request to reflect the changes that are being discussed as acceptable for consideration by the board.
Perhaps it might be best if you would consider tabling this, so you don't have to pay another fee, and to come back with the revisions that we've discussed.
In August 13th?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So that we're not, we need to be clear.
Yeah, we could certainly do that.
But I would say in the meantime, probably do his best to mediate chickens escaping on the current fence.
I concur.
Yeah, and keeping, making sure Mr. Technic is not.
Right.
The
We found
chickens-
some places where they go under. We're working on sealing that up also.
Would you like to come?
I just want to bring a point before you.
Please, come back.
What the heck, yeah.
Come on down.
Just because, you're exactly talking about ensuring the compliance with the construction.
Right.
To help ensure that, should that not occur, not that anybody wants to go this way,
Right.
the chickens continue to go in the yard. I'm assuming this is some form of violation that's enforceable, that.
Not
Not in our purview.
Not,
sorry?
not at the
This is
township.
not our purview.
It would have to go
Addressing
through,
that.
it'd have to go to the sheriff at that
Would
point.
legal know anything?
Yeah, I would.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to think that way.
Yeah, and not surprisingly, as I said earlier, you can't regulate agricultural uses. The township can't. So there wouldn't be a vehicle for the township to file a prosecution for some zoning violation. A neighbor in a civil action could do something.
So it'd be civil.
Right,
Okay,
okay,
okay, thank you.
okay.
So the applicant needs to request that it be tabled, or?
Well, I think what you want to do, Madam Chair, is just simply indicate that the public hearing is in recess to enable the applicant to consider the feedback provided by the Board of Zoning Appeals. That's all you need to do,
Okay,
and to be continued to the next meeting. So that way, the public hearing remains open.
okay. Okay, so in regards to the variance application 2022-103 brought forth by Mr. Robert Spinello, we are requesting that we table this, and the public portion of this hearing will now be recessed. And at this time, I'd like to ask for a motion to table this discussion.
I move that.
All in favor?
So you need a second.
Second.
Oh, we need a first.
Maybe second. Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it is recessed. Good luck.
See you in recession.
Okay,
Because I meant no disrespect, I'm sorry.
No, don't be silly.
Have a good day.
All right, so we are on to item number 3, variance application 2022-104. Joseph Alexa III is requesting a variance to allow for the construction of a covered porch that is set back 48 feet from the front line in lieu of the minimum 50 feet required in section 1504A2B, 4 and section 1504B, table 1504-1 for the property located at 9960 Stone Hollow Road, known as current parcel number 10A022D 000370.
Do you have chickens?
It's not,
We don't want direct chickens.
it's not a car wash and it's no chicken.
Okay, excellent.
No ducks.
I learned more about chickens and non-flying waterfowl today.
You wanted to inquire about a large alligator, actually.
God is my witness, I thought chickens could fly.
And there's no noisy
Okay, good.
Okay.
going on. So Joe Alexa, original owner, current resident of the property at 9960 Stone Hollow Road in Concord. We built the house in 1994.
And you've been sworn in,
I
sir?
have been sworn in,
Thank
sorry,
you.
Madam Chair.
No, that's great.
And we're in the process of doing some exterior remodeling of the house. The first step, or the first portion, was replace the front porch. It's starting to, it's made of brick with a concrete slab. We need to, the brick is starting to chip out, so we want to replace that. We're replacing the siding on the house, and as a result, we said, hey, it would be nice. Mr. Fisher earlier stole my thunder and said, Northeast Ohio winters, especially in this time of home deliveries, a lot of packages go on the front porch, a lot of packages get wet and you end up returning them directly. So we like to put, we called it an overhang. I will use the terminology covered porch. It's going to be open on all sides except where it's attached to the house. 2 columns supporting the front of the covered porch. It extends inside the 50-foot variance that is set back from the road where the house is. We do have a bay window that also extends off the front of the house that, as we understand from the section of code, doesn't count. Okay, good. So the columns of the covered porch would be approximately where that end of the bay window is. And we don't have any elevated neighbors that would look down on this and have their view distracted. We believe, a lot of our neighbors already either have covered porches or overhangs, as we're talking about. And we just like to be able to remodel the front of our house for more aesthetic reasons, some protection reasons. We've replaced the front door multiple times due to the weather beating down on it. We've stained the front door that many more times as the same result, and we just feel that this would protect the front of our house a little bit and our investment, not affecting anybody on the street whatsoever.
This is very typical. Years ago, there was one on Barchester, just chapter and verse like this, minor modification.
So it's come out 2 feet more from the house. And
2 feet, yeah, it would be 48 feet from the street.
Yeah. See, that was a long time ago, but it's just a couple of feet, and it's just
Any
compared to
questions for
a
Mr.
6-foot
Alexa?
fence. This is nothing.
so
Fences.
you're not replacing the stoop, you're just rebricking.
We are replacing the stoop, yeah, but it's still gonna be, it's like, what, 4 by 7, 5 by 7? She's not sworn in,
Right,
so
right.
she's not allowed to talk. 5 by 7.
He just told his wife to shut up.
And I was allowed to.
Oh my gosh.
I was allowed to. That's the good thing. Maybe I have Mr. Lucas on my side on this one in legal proceedings. No, it would. We're going to expand it a little bit to a 5 by 7 in front of the door, and then the overhang or the covered porch would be over the top of that 5 by 7
Understood.
piece of concrete.
Okay, understood.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else here for or against this variance request?
No one would dare at this hour.
Okay, then, the public hearing for, variance application 2022-104, requesting a 2-foot variance, at, parcel number 10A022D000370. Any discussion here?
No.
I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. Whoop, we did it again.
No, you can have it.
Okay, Marty?
I'm collecting them.
Mr. Rowan?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Mr. Goling?
Yes.
Ms. Gerald?
Yes.
Whee!
Your variance request is approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, on
Have a
to,
good night. Sleep on the couch.
Come back, this is very unsafe.
yes, it is. Yes, it is. Variance, the fourth item, variance application 2022-105. Brian Rogers is requesting the following variances to allow for the construction of an accessory building on the property located at 7225 North Point Court, known as current parcel number 08A030F000130. The first variance is from section 1503A6, table 15031, to allow a lot less than 2 acres in size to have a second accessory building in lieu of the maximum of 1 that is permitted. And the second variance request is from section 1504A2E and section 1504B to allow an accessory building to be located 20 feet from the Hermitage Road right-of-way in lieu of the minimum 50 feet required. Come forth, come on down.
Hi. All right, thank you all for your time. My name is Brian Rogers, 7225 North Point Court, and I have been sworn in.
Thank you.
I do have extra photos. Could I pass them out to you guys?
Please.
I brought extra photos with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so what I am requesting is to have a second accessory structure put on the property. We purchased the home in 2014, and when we moved in there, the current shed that is there now, we fixed, we painted, and a couple years ago, we had a metal roof put on our house because it needed replaced. At the same time, I spent a decent amount of money to have the metal roof put on the shed that we currently have there now, so it matched the house. So everything matches the house the way it is currently with the shed I have.
How big is the current shed?
12 by 16. So 12 by 16. So what I'm requesting for is for the second shed, which is going to be 12 by 24. As you can see in the pictures that I provided, it will be at the back corner of our property in the woods. It's pretty tucked away where it's at, where nobody can really see where it's at, especially when everything grows in. So I do have it marked out there, picture of the current shed and the proposed location. With the new shed, basically...
Where is that? Where's that picture? This is the current one?
That's the current shed that I have now.
Okay.
Yes. And the other photos of the woods is if you're looking at that shed to the right, behind it. So I don't know, do you guys have a map in there of the property where I marked it on where it would be the proposed location?
Yeah.
I think so.
I just can't see the current shed on there, Brian.
Okay, so the current shed that you're looking at now is right there. But the black roof, because it matches, it tucks away back there. So,
Can you show me?
yeah.
I'm assuming it's this right here.
So the current shed that I have now is,
That's it. Right
yeah,
here.
it's that right there, and then my proposed shed is gonna go back here, back there in the woods.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, again, there's nothing wrong with that current shed that there is now. Like I said, I spent quite a bit of money to have a metal roof put on it to match my house that I have now. My wife painted it so it matches the house. There's just not enough space in it. The pictures I provided, we increased the size of our deck last year. We replaced our pool. We have a lot more equipment. I have a gas heater that I like to store away, the pump, the pool reel. I just have a lot of pool equipment. We have all new tables and chairs that I had we purchased. I have a grill. Right now, a lot of it takes up most of my garage space because I have nowhere else to store it. Some of the stuff I had put tarps on over the winter time, which our winters does not work good, and they just don't look good covering them with tarps, but I have no other space for them. So the new shed that I'm asking for, requesting, is so I can put all of my pool equipment, all of my outdoor patio stuff, my gas pool heater, my kids have bikes, just all my outdoor stuff.
Why'd you choose the location that you have chosen?
So the spot that I chose is, if you're looking at the map right here, if I need to, on my side yard here, I really don't have any space. My kids have a whole, one of those Playground World play sets right there, that's set in the spot there. And then this portion over here is constantly wet. It's a low spot. It's constantly wet. I have put so much dirt and grass, no matter what I do, it just stays wet. And I'm afraid that if I were to put the shed over here, it's gonna sink. So the proposed location that I'm looking for back here, it's hidden to the back of my property. I mean, it's all tucked away in the woods in the back where nobody really can see it once it grows in. So,
Like you can't say from Hermitage either.
I mean, right now with all the trees, you cannot see it. Once fall time comes,
Right.
you might be able to see it. But what I was gonna do is, the shed that we're gonna buy, and we didn't buy it yet because I didn't, but it's gonna be one of these types of sheds. So it's gonna match the color of our house that it is currently and the shed, and we're also gonna have a black metal roof.
Do you have photos of, how many car garage do you have?
Just a 2-car garage.
2-car garage.
So the whole one side bay is just taken up with bicycles, my gas pool heater, my pool pump, and stuff like that.
How long have you known you needed more room?
Last year, maybe the year before,
And then when did you put the roof on the existing structure?
2 years ago.
Because he replaced the pool last year, added the heater, and bought new furniture. So
We have all new outdoor patio furniture. I bought a new gas pool heater this year because my other one rusted out because I couldn't
Can't
store
you
it.
bust out the back wall of the existing structure and add on?
No, because it's all concrete back there. We have a whole concrete patio. You mean behind the garage?
No, behind the existing
the big
outbuilding.
current shed.
No, because I have a huge oak tree that is right behind here, which I don't want to cut down. It is a huge oak tree.
It's right behind the existing.
Like if you go right behind the shed, it's about 3 feet away. And it's a really big oak tree. It's been there for a long time. And it'd be expensive to cut down. And if I tried adding on to my existing shed, I'd have to take off the metal roof that they had just made for the shed that I had. It would just the cost would be more.
Did you look into, like, wintertime off-site storage? You got storage buildings all over the place?
I have, but I would just prefer just to keep it all at home, you know, because my kids use it a lot.
I would add, if I can, into that.
Oh, yeah, I mean, if I can, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
You know, I've looked at the other storage places, but again, if I can, I would like to just keep it all at home.
Are you talking about this tree right here?
Yeah.
Well, that's not right
What,
behind it. This one?
it's close.
Oh, yeah, it's about 5 feet from the shed. So again, if I were to take the existing shed I have now, the roof off to add on to it, the expense, that metal roof cost me $2,000 to put on that shed. When we did the metal roof in our house, which
Don't
the
ask,
price altogether was.
but it's gonna last.
So I thought about that. Yeah, well, it's gonna last, they said 50 years. But again, there's nothing wrong with that
Well,
shed.
what about this way?
It's all trees. That's why the spot that I have marked out, there's no trees, it's all open back there.
Yeah,
I mean, there's no trees to cut down.
So I'm thinking about, devil's advocate playing both sides. Like, a couple of options is, one, you sell this one and you get you a bigger monster shed. But then again, to his point, swallowing that pill of just spending $2,000 for that new roof up there,
that's tough. But then if you're gonna extend or build off of that, to even come out, we'll say to that end of that drive, that's another, what do you think, Davey, another 10 feet to the end of that drive all the way over there? Like if he were to shoot it out, and then I'm just spitballing here. You got, that's a 12 by 16 shed?
Correct.
So 12 by 10, another 120 square feet. I don't even think that'd be enough to.
So your difficulty, what is the difficulty here? That you just, it's a financial thing only, because you're gonna need to come up with something better than that.
I think.
What do you mean a financial? Not as far as taking the shed apart
I mean,
or adding on to it?
you don't want to take trees down to add on to it.
Correct, because I love the trees in the backyard.
Okay.
I mean,
And the shed I have now that shed is in beautiful shape. There's nothing wrong with it.
So I think for me, it sounds like obviously cutting down trees, there's an expense.
Yeah.
You've already sunk an extra $2,000 into the shed.
Yeah.
To add on to it, as we've said, like doesn't really make sense. I think the biggest difficulty, or one of the things that adds to this difficulty, is the lot location, because you've got two frontages to deal with.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you position this? You know, even if you had a bigger shed, and you know, I'm assuming there's probably a variance that was for the original shed for some sort of with the location. Maybe I'm mistaken on that.
the shed was there.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, you would, but
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
So,
It was part of the variance.
Well, it's a
So,
big
yeah.
variant. I mean, township says 2 acres, you can have, a large building. You got like 0.66. I mean, that's when you look at variances, that's huge. I mean,
Well, I think the other thing is that, so the biggest thing is that you can't have two structures
Under,
on this lot size.
yeah, yeah,
right.
The square footage is under,
yes.
so, I mean, I think that's a positive.
It's 288 for the new one.
The 12 by 24 would be 288, and then
192 for the other, so it's 480 total.
it's a total of 456 square feet
Sure.
between both.
You're less than half
Yeah.
of the total that he would be allowed. Is there a county limit on square? There is a county limit.
1024.
So he's still under that. As far as square footage.
the issue is the two buildings.
I agree.
It's a big
Ah.
issue.
I'm trying to figure out how, I'm trying to think if there's a creative way to make this work. But yeah, I agree. It's the two buildings is the issue. Alternatively, I mean, if somebody were to put a pod there for the winter, I don't know if that would even be legal, and then take it off after 6 months.
That'd be ugly.
It would be ugly.
Yeah, I think it's 30 days.
Yeah.
30 days, and then you can get an extension for that.
Right.
The equivalent of getting like a storage shipping container. Yeah,
Right.
it's not.
Right,
Yeah,
and
it's
that's not
30
the-
days.
Right.
Well, those things are
I mean,
normally
I'm not saying that's what I would.
set in the driveway or something.
What would stop somebody from doing that?
Can't be in the backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be in the front yard.
Yeah, on the driveway.
So I guess here wants to put it parallel with Hermitage. Is that right?
Yes.
Parallel with Hermitage. There's no neighbors in the back. I don't see anybody here for or against.
Yeah, that's true.
He's got the 12 by 16, which he's got 6 pounds of crap in a 3-pound bag. So trying to stuff it all in here and still use his garage for the winter. The solution is, do you get the second shed, or do you demo this and build you a bigger one? But then or do you spend $1,500, drop a tree that you love to build onto this one? So a lot of different options. Or how big is the lot?
It's 0.66.
0.66.
Yeah, that's kind of if he was at like 1.98, that might.
Yeah.
I mean, if all right, so what would be the biggest? What's the biggest shed you could put on? 10 by 12 by
1,024.
Right. So
Yeah, whatever
would
that works out to, 20 by
32 by 32.
Yeah.
32 by 32.
which is monster,
That's
right? So just say that if
Well-
he were to bulldoze all those trees and put a 32 by 32 shed there, he would totally be allowed to do that and still be twice as large as both of these put together. But to Chris's point, 2.
He's allowed one.
Well, and then the alternative would be if you could theoretically you could sell that shed. I've had a shed moved. It's you're looking at, I think it was like $500 just to move it from one end of the property to the other.
Yeesh.
It's cheaper than buying a new one and demoing it. I'm not saying, like, again, I'm just trying to, discuss options here. But to your point, 32 by 32 would be huge.
That'd be a monster.
There's no neighbors here.
Yeah.
And if the road weren't there,
And that,
again, we get back to two buildings. It's really the issue.
Yeah.
It's not.
but then if
Square
you're
footage.
driving down Hermitage and you see the one, let's say the new shed goes in, could you even see the second shed from Hermitage? I contend probably not, due to the foliage and the 200-year-old trees that are here. And again, there's no neighbors here. So
Well, you'd be
Yeah.
surprised when there's
Well,
no leaves.
there are
You
houses
can
across
see right
Hermitage
through.
from that.
I'm
But
sorry?
there are houses on Hermitage
Yeah, across the street, right.
across the
Yeah.
street. But a lot of,
But I will say, the neighbors that are across the street on Hermitage, they sit so far back and they have such huge evergreens. I don't think I've
Yeah.
ever seen them. I've never, I'm just stating that just for the
Yeah.
neighbor.
Yeah,
That's
just-
the only neighbor that necessarily, I guess,
Well, this one isn't
I mean,
that
I
far
think
back.
as far as hardship, it seems to me it's
It's-
mostly financial.
A
Because there's a-
difficulty.
The difficulty is it's a financial difficulty. You've already put in some money into this existing shed.
Uh-huh.
Well, and the difficulty in the
Well, you-
in the resolution.
Right.
Well,
So I guess we're at a point now, we've had our discussion.
yeah.
So we have to
And-
close.
We have to close. Or we're looking for and against, and there's nobody here, so we have to get that on record, Mike, right?
Yep.
Yep. And then discussion, then vote.
Yep. Okay. There's nobody else here, so there's nobody else here for or against. And so if there's no further questions for Mr. Rogers, then the public hearing for variance request application 2022-105 requesting, well, the first one, requesting a second accessory building in a R1 district that under 2 acres that only allows for one. And then the, and so we'll address that one first. Any discussion? I mean, we've discussed.
We've discussed.
Okay, all right, then I will entertain a motion for the approval of a variance 4A for the second accessory building.
So moved.
Second.
you got
He stomped you every time, and now he just
Yeah.
ignores you.
Marty, will you call the roll?
Okay, Mr. Rowan,
Yes.
Mr. Goley,
Yes.
Mr. Rowe,
no.
Ms. Gerald.
Yes. Okay, so you're allowed two structures. Congratulations on that. We will entertain a motion for the approval of variance 4B here, which is to allow an accessory building to be located 20 feet from the Hermitage Road right away in lieu of the minimum 50 feet required.
So moved.
Second.
Ready?
Mr. Goley,
Yes.
Mr. Rowe,
No.
Mr. Rowan,
Yes.
Ms. Gerald.
Yes. Congratulations.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming here before you actually built the building. We
Well,
appreciate that.
Yeah, I didn't want to buy. My wife already was on the roll to buy it, and I said, we're not buying nothing yet. So,
Yeah, we get a few of those that
Yeah.
oh, I'm
there
sure,
it
I'm,
is, you know.
I'm sure that's why I wanted to wait.
Chris's favorite question, so how did you get caught?
Yeah, I really wanted to ask that a couple times,
Yeah.
but I refrained as the acting chair. All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. Now, will I get notifications if I go by this shed? Do I have to,
It's Marty's.
You will get notification.
I'll get something mailed to me that
Yes,
it's
you
okay
will.
to do it?
Yes, you will.
Okay, all right. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you,
You bet.
thank you, Marty. Have a good evening, everybody.
You too.
So I guess we need to put on the record, item number 5, which is tabled at the request of the applicant, it was for variance application 2022-106. Mark Green of Marouz Brothers Construction is requesting a variance on behalf of the property owner to allow for the construction of a parking area in the front yard on a corner lot, which is not permitted in section 22.10H4 for the property located at Crowell Road, known as parcel number 08A02, followed by 6 zeros 480. That has been tabled already.
A lot going through there to just table it.
Trying to talk fast.
I think it was 5-0. I don't know if we need that on the record. Sorry.
Okay, that's
I'm not
okay.
trying to be difficult, but
Okay, Davey, thank you.
Zero here, zero there, you know.
Okay, so I guess that next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. And that date was June 8th. So may I please call for a motion to approve the minutes for June 8th, 2022?
Madam
moved.
Chair, it looks like, at least on the agenda, there's 3 sets of minutes.
Oh, yes, you are correct. Well, golly,
can we make that one, or should we do them individually? Okay.
okay. All right, so we have 3 sets of minutes to approve.
So did you?
We don't have the minutes. Because I don't know if she's done a graft.
Yeah, we didn't get the minutes
So
for
we
June.
can't approve them if we don't have them, right? So
We don't have June's.
We don't have
we don't have any of
any
them
of them in front of us.
in front of us.
Well, we should have gotten the other ones in the prior month's packets.
All right.
Marty?
Which we probably
Do you know?
did.
That's true.
We did.
All right, yeah. Because June they had,
So
she wasn't here, so May and April's we can approve.
Right, we can't
true?
approve June because we didn't never got them.
Gotcha.
So, may you please call for a motion to approve the minutes for BZA meeting April 13th, 2022?
I move to approve the minutes from the April 13th, 2022 BZA meeting.
I second, I think I was there.
You were there.
Yeah,
Any discussion
I
regarding
think one out of the,
addition, deletions, anything?
no.
Okay, then the question is at hand is for the approval for the minutes from April 13th, 2022. A yes vote approves, a no would certainly invalidate. All in favor in approving the minutes as stated?
Yes.
Say yes.
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 Yes,
Okay, the ayes, yeses have it for approving the minutes from April 13th, 2022. Now, may I please call for a motion to approve the minutes for the BZA meeting from May 11th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, additions, deletions?
no,
No.
Okay. Then the question is hand is for the approval of the minutes from the BZA meeting, date May 11, 2022. Yes vote approves, no invalidates. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Aye.
Aye, yes, yeah, okay,
I
it's
guess,
anonymous. The ayes and yeses have it, and the meeting minutes from May 11, 2022 BZA meeting are approved. And I guess that would conclude our meeting for July 13th, 2022.
Do we have to announce the next meeting or no?
Nope.
good job.
Oh, I gotta pee.